An Army veteran is out of a job tonight after doing what he said was instinctual. He tried to stop two shoplifters from running out of a CVS store he managed, but he was fired for doing it.
Joe Morisi served in the Army for 7 years, including a tour of duty in Afghanistan.
Now a company that operates a lot of those signs will be keeping an eye on the type of people passing underneath them. Clear Channel Outdoor America today announced that it will use cell phone data to do so. The program is called Radar. Fox 13's Aaron Nesmer in our control room. Some people are not thrilled with this, Aaron.
Yeah, Mark, for a lot of cell phone users, it's the bigger picture that makes them nervous. They're wondering how much data tracking is too much.
Everywhere you go, you can be tracked, and you might not know it.
People are completely unaware, they're oblivious.
New at 6, we're just hearing from the Phoenix City Councilman caught on a controversial video denouncing gay marriage in the LGBT community.
Never thought I would see the day that men and men would be married.
Moments later,
this world is changing. Este mundo está cambiando, and it's time for us. Y es tiempo que nosotros take the leadership, que tomemos ese liderazgo and change it back to the way it should be.
This video posted on YouTube, recorded last month, and the remarks come as a surprise to many.
A disturbing video out of Russia has gone viral. It reportedly shows a nanny walking around Moscow, clutching a child's severed head.
Russian prosecutors say that a nanny accused of beheading a child in Moscow was not acting alone.
The Moscow nanny suspected of beheading a child in her care says, quote, Allah ordered her to commit the crime. Well, she was not a Russian lady. It's hard to say. Maybe she had something wrong in her head. She went on to call herself, quote, Allah's messenger. A woman who says she's a neighbor of the victim's family believes it's the unpredictable nature of the attack which is most unsettling.
Producer who murdered his wife and daughter before taking his own life.
But the murder-suicide a year ago was far from cut and dry. Tonight, new and disturbing details we've never heard before.
The reality is the truth of what happened to David Crowley and his family is stranger and sadder than anyone imagined. To look at the three of them through the Instagram filter of life, it's hard to imagine how it all went so wrong. David Crowley, a talented, promising young filmmaker, his smart and beautiful wife, Kamel, a dietitian, and their adorable 5-year-old daughter, Rania.
Tragic loss for an entire family. It looks like David snapped and took the lives of his wife and daughter, and then ultimately himself.
And from the start, it was a case wrapped in suspicion and mystery.
Here's the red flags.
With paranoid theories all over the internet.
Guys out here going after the truth get knocked off.
That the Crowleys were murdered as some kind of government conspiracy. All because of a personal film project David Crowley had worked on obsessively for years, called Gray State. This is a concept trailer for Gray State, which imagines the U.S. government taking away all our liberties. Kamel had told her family she was the sole breadwinner, that she was not physically or emotionally abused, but the financial struggles made her question the marriage.
He just lost his way.
A sliding back door was found slightly ajar, apparently for the family dog. But there were no footprints in the snow, no sign of forced entry. Inside, detectives would find a scene of domestic horror and normalcy. Teasing little love notes the couple left for each other around the murder-suicide took place the day after Christmas. David shooting Kamel twice in the head, Rania once, before shooting himself. Between their bodies, a Quran with pages torn out, opened to a traditional forgiveness prayer. And there on the wall, above the bodies, scrawled in blood, the words, Allah Akbar.
Who wrote Allah Akbar on the wall?
He did.
In her blood?
Yes.
In the Home Office, on a notepad, more bloody fingerprints, and the words, submit to Allah now. We may never know what made David Crowley finally snap, but we do know this. There are some 1,500 murder-suicides in the U.S. every year. They account for about 5% of all homicides, and their numbers seem to be increasing.
A Sunday of worship shattered by gunfire. An Ohio church congregation hears the moment their pastor's life was taken.
An Ohio pastor was shot and killed inside his church during a service yesterday morning, and the suspect is his own brother.
A fugitive wanted for shooting a pastor in Idaho was arrested yesterday.
Well, this drawing is yet another twist in the case of an ex-Camp Pendleton Marine accused of shooting a pastor in Idaho 6 times. Police arrested Kyle Odom at the White House.
And joining us with his bizarre 21-page Martian manifesto, Hannah.
And guys, in it, he said the aliens are hypersexual, so they controlled his mind and stimulated him to the point of exhaustion.
Odom's father, Terry, tells KXLY that he had dinner with his son the night before the shooting, and there was no indication that Odom was planning any type of attack. Odom's dad says the Sunday shooting took them totally by surprise and that Odom is not a violent person.
The Secret Service tracked Odom to the White House, where they say he tossed flash drives over the fence. According to his manifesto, Odom believes Martians rule the world. He says dozens of them are U.S. lawmakers who crave control. The manifesto goes into disturbing detail about how the aliens got into his head. He also believes they live deep underground and in the moon.
Trust God, we trust Jesus that he's going to work something miraculous to this.
First, our top story this morning, anger surrounding Donald Trump's presidential campaign reaches a boiling point in Chicago. Last night, the Republican frontrunner canceled a campaign rally over security concerns when thousands of protesters gathered outside an arena at the University of Illinois and then flooded the venue where he was scheduled to speak.
Trump's campaign events have turned increasingly hostile. Sex offenders can't live within 1,000 feet of a school, but we discovered there is nothing stopping them from voting in one on primary day. That's why an elementary school polling site in Brook Park is causing some serious concerns for parents.
Many schools are used as polling sites across Cuyahoga County and have been for decades. But parents tell me times have changed.
Different age now. I mean, you don't know what's out there anymore.
At 11, a cruel encounter has a 7-year-old boy calling for just a little courtesy.
What happened on a flight left his family in disbelief.
Tonight, a Valley family in the national spotlight when they're taunted as they're forced to leave a plane. They say it was all because the little boy had an allergic reaction.
The family was returning home from a trip to Washington.
The father is fighting end-stage throat cancer. They were on the trip to make memories, but this is one memory they wish they could forget.
So we informed the flight attendant, who informed us that, well, there's dogs on every flight, and just smirked.
And I'm sad this has to be a memory with my dad.
As a dad, you know, I was just hopeless right there. And I was out there and I just looked at the people clapping. I was just like shaking my head. I was just like, man, let's get out of here.
An exciting and a rare moment in time. A total solar eclipse is seen across the Pacific tonight.
We didn't get to see it here, but amazing pictures are pouring in from a rare celestial event on the other side of the world. People in Southeast Asia experience a total solar eclipse. The rare phenomenon happens when the moon moves in front of the sun, so it casts a shadow on the ground. In some places, the total solar eclipse lasted for 4 minutes, but that is really incredible. And I think that, Matt, in the last couple of years, we've seen so much excitement about what's happening in the sky. You know, we have the blood moon and all the different names for the moons that we've seen come through. Super moon. They get so excited about it.
Blood moon.
Well, you showed this on the morning show, and Jason, I love this. It gives you kind of a very unique perspective, and it was planned that way.
It was. Alaska Airlines has a trip that goes from Anchorage to Honolulu, and there was an astronomer a year ago who was looking at the coming of this eclipse and noticed, like, hey, there's a flight that goes right through there.
Oh my God. Look at that. Oh my God. Here we go. Oh my God. It's coming right over us like a storm. Look at this. Oh my God. We're getting close. Getting close. Who built this dome? I got Corona. There it is. Diamond Belly's Bees. Belly's Bees Diamond Ring. Look at that. Corona. Totality. Totality. Oh my God. Look at that.
Now, dozens of people phoned the police from various parts of Scotland last night after a bright light from a suspected meteor shower lit up the early evening sky. Scotland says the force began receiving calls just before 7 yesterday evening from people saying they'd heard a loud bang or seen a fireball in the sky.
Out of nowhere, a dazzling ball of fire drops out of the sky, a suspected meteor burning up in the atmosphere above northern Scotland.
What the hell was that? What the hell was that?
All of a sudden the sky lit up. It was like a light switch. It just went from
dark to light in seconds. It was the most surreal experience I've ever had.
Oh, the things that go boom at night. A mystery boom tonight on Long Island. So folks in Suffolk County frightened and calling 911. So what exactly was it? Here's Eyewitness News reporter Jim Dolan.
Around dinner time last night, many South Shore residents reported something shaking their homes. It's a story you saw first on 12.
The whole house shook, the windows shook.
Start texting my daughter in West Babylon, and they heard it too.
It stopped Don Worley right in mid-sentence and shook his home.
We were sitting on the couch watching TV, and the whole house started shaking, so we went outside. And all my neighbors were like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" We're like, "Yeah."
A noise that could be heard throughout his quiet Lindenhurst neighborhood. A loud boom.
Whatever it was, it literally shook the town. It was loud, and it was the same thing we heard, I guess, a month ago.
Suffolk police tell us the sound could be heard in several towns, but they have no knowledge of any explosions in the area. 911 calls flooded into dispatchers seconds after the loud.
I just got a call from Christina up in Deer Park, and they said they heard something really loud also.
Weird because most of the booms you hear, when you hear something, you hear a car crash or something like that, you can pretty well tell which direction it came from. This, I couldn't identify which direction it came from. It just sounded like just a loud thud.
Mysterious loud noises have been concerning residents around Grundy County for weeks. Many people have reported their experiences of these booms, saying they saw a flash of light or felt it shake their house.
What is going on out there? Bizarre sounds are being heard all over. The latest is this creepy high-pitched noise. The mystery has everyone in the picturesque town of Forest Grove, Oregon, baffled.
There is a horrible, horrible sound coming from the outside of my property. That's high-pitched squealing.
It's like a real-life X-Files. This is where the jarring sound was first reported. As you can tell, it's normally a lovely, quiet neighborhood. But for the past 2 weeks, residents have been on edge because they don't know what the ear-splitting sound is or where it's coming from.
It turns out this is just the latest incident in a worldwide phenomenon of unexplained sounds that have scientists scratching their heads. This spooky sound terrified a town in British Columbia. This was heard in Finland. And this piercing high-pitched sound was recorded in Michigan. As for the strange sound in Oregon, I asked acoustic engineer Tobin Cooley to analyze it.
Probably electrical, mechanical, gas, air.
But even he can't explain it.
I don't think anyone knows what it is yet, but that's probably what makes it more frightening.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Karen Scullin.
And I'm Tim Blotz. A rare blood infection is likely to blame in 18 Wisconsin deaths. The mysterious outbreak even has the CDC now investigating.
The spread in Sheboygan County now makes a dozen Wisconsin counties with reported cases, covering most of our area.
To have an outbreak of this magnitude is very unusual.
Disease detectives on the ground are still puzzled where this could be coming from.
I wish we already had an answer.
Well, it's no magic trick. A Canby man says he can now open his door, unlock his cell phone, and all he has to do is just swipe his hand.
It's because he has a microchip implanted in his hand.
Well, that would do it.
He says it's changed his life, and now he's shown.
This is a pretty interesting one, you guys. James Newman says he's embracing technology in a big way. 2 years ago, after reading some tech articles, he was inspired and he had a chip implanted right in his hand. He says radio frequency identification is the way of the future.
Officials are trying to get a handle on the rising number of earthquakes in the state.
Another major storm system, this one in the south.
We turn next on a Friday night to the other major headline, the historic flooding. States of emergency in several states tonight.
Oh my God! This same storm fueled a barrage of thunder and lightning in Texas. More than 750 strikes hit around San Antonio last night in just a 5-minute time period.
Survival is just one of several items that survived a house fire in East Tennessee. It happened in Hawkins County on Sunday. Nothing is left of the home except a few pictures and the family Bible. Donna Clark was asleep inside the home when it caught fire. Her neighbors saved her life after seeing the smoke and running to the house and waking her.
And this is one of several Bibles in the home that remain untouched.
It burnt nearly everything around it real bad, but this Bible wasn't touched. It has no smoke spots or no burnt spots. anywhere. It looks like it just come out of the store.
Their faith, just like the Bible found in the rubble, also remains untouched.
A family of 8 is now without a place to call home after a devastating fire broke out, leaving nothing behind but ashes. While sifting through ashes and rubble, Jack was amazed to find a cross, Bible, and other religious items unharmed. She says it brought them peace, knowing they were not alone.
You would think a house that was engulfed in flames, you would have lost everything. But of course, God always shows a way and shows that He's always here at all times.
Well, a North Texas couple just starting their lives together lost their home and almost everything inside a fire. This is what they saw when they returned home to the 2700 block of Royal Lane in Irving. You can see the devastation there. Tonight we're learning about the miracle that they did find in the debris.
The newlyweds were just starting their lives together.
Not even 2 weeks.
When a fire consumed their home.
And the flames were on top of the ceiling going towards the cabinets.
They lost almost everything inside.
Everything except our Bible and marriage license.
Yes, a Bible and a marriage license.
Here's our Bible. And now the page was burned in the Bible. I keep my prayers in here. This is what means the world to us right here. Having our marriage license and our Bible.
2 items saved inside a home where everything else is destroyed. The marriage license was on this table, the Bible on the ottoman.
And we wonder every day what it means to have these 2 items.
A test of faith that is for certain.
It's something that I'll always cherish, and it will always remind me the 2 most important things to me in my life.
A lot of things go viral on social media. You kind of scratch your head and don't get. This one was incredibly powerful. It comes from Baltimore. Look at this. It's a young teen praying over the body of a homeless man. It's gone viral now. This was taken by Eric Gaines, a police officer for the University of Maryland in Baltimore. He saw this and he says a lot of people come and shake down the homeless guy, seeing what's in his pockets, he thought this kid was doing the same thing. Then he realized he was actually praying for the man.
A bloody Sunday on 2 continents.
This is the 5th major bombing in Turkey in the past 8 months. Before then, there had been no major attack for 2 years.
The frequency of these global terror attacks is growing. Whether it's Turkey, West Africa, or here in Europe, intelligence officials say the question about the next attack is not if.
A branch of Al Qaeda has claimed responsibility for a deadly attack on a beach resort in the Ivory Coast.
I heard shots coming from over there, said one witness. That's when I saw the criminals. We found this guy here. They had killed him. Another witness described how one of the gunmen approached 2 children while the one child knelt and prayed. The other was shot dead.
Overseas, 2 separate terror attacks making headlines. In Turkey, dozens killed in a huge explosion. The blast reportedly from a car bomb near a bus stop in the capital. Several government agencies nearby. In West Africa, Al Qaeda claiming responsibility for a deadly assault, gunmen targeting 3 hotels, storming an Ivory Coast beach resort.
Security video captured the very moment a car packed with explosives detonated near a busy bus stop in Turkey's capital. Embers and debris rained down on the street as survivors ran for cover.
These are 2 unrelated events, right?
They're unrelated in the tactical sense, but they're related in the sense that this is part and parcel of the world we live in. Well, the New World Order, to some extent, is a New World disorder, or is much challenged by weak states who can't control what goes inside their countries or across the borders, as we are by strong states. We're really seeing the erosion of all sorts of security and stability arrangements, clearly in Europe, obviously in the Middle East, which is the most unraveled. We haven't seen it for the most part in Asia, but there are pressures under the surface there that worry everybody.
I saw the news. It was striking, Ambassador Haas, how it came out on my Twitter feed, one crisis, then the other crisis. And all I could think of was a Paula Cole song from years ago, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Where have all the John Waynes gone? I mean, there's a massive desire for U.S. order like we had in an American myth from decades ago. It's essentially gone, isn't it?
The short answer is yes. Years ago, I wrote a book about a different American president called The Reluctant Sheriff.
Yeah.
And when you read Jeffrey Goldberg's long, important piece in Atlantic Magazine about Barack Obama, he is very much a reluctant sheriff, very concerned about the consequences and costs of the United States playing a leading role in the world. But what we're seeing is if the United States doesn't do it, The world is not on autopilot, and there's no one else with the capacity and willingness to step up. Essentially, order declines.
Economist and best-selling author Larry Bates writes, "I have said for many years that the term New World Order is merely a code word for one world socialism. As many have observed, the New World Order is not new, nor is it orderly." If you were to search the content of all the major media streams over the last 2 decades for phrases like New World Order, global government, or one world system, you would be shocked. Many of the politicians and leaders of developed nations have used these or similar phrases in their responses to recent global problems and catastrophes. The world is crying out for a unified government to solve problems at the global level.
The new global agenda in many ways is not new. It is we had 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, in 1992, when we had the big Rio summit in Brazil, we had an agenda for the 21st century. But it is about sustainable development, and there was not enough implementation. So today, this 2030 agenda for sustainable development, in many ways, is unfinished business, but it also introduces many new things. Like the human rights issues are more strong. So we think that there is a lot of opportunity for this new global agenda to really get us moving to implement sustainable development.
This summit in Dubai on shaping future governments can serve as a catalyst and a driver to concretely and together chart the road ahead. This agenda 2030 is, in my view, the most transformative development agenda ever adopted by member states of the United Nations. The member state didn't go the road that I've often seen in negotiations of the lowest common denominator. No, they kept the ambitions levels, they kept the ambitions high, which of course also means that the people of the world have high expectations and we have to face up to that. This agenda commits us to leave no one behind. We are guided by 17 interrelated Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which aim to free all human beings from the tyranny of poverty, the tyranny of want, and to heal and secure our planet. The SDGs reflect the obligations of all governments around the world to shape a better future. The agenda is to be implemented in all countries, rich and poor, large and small. Agenda 2030 offers a unique opportunity to rally all countries, civil society, the business community, and the academic world around the quest for a more fair and equitable world. We must not miss this historic Agenda 2030 opportunity.
Thanks for watching tonight. I'm Bill Ritter.
And I'm Liz Cho. World News Tonight with David Muir is coming up next. For all of us here, have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Breaking news. Recruiting ISIS on Tennessee college campuses should be okay?
Tonight, one state lawmaker's exchange with a Memphis colleague is getting a lot of attention.
Republican Representative John Daniel of Knoxville, seen there, was talking about a bill that would ease free speech rules on college campuses throughout the state, even if it means allowing ISIS, the terrorist organization, to recruit. Listen to this exchange with Representative John D. Berry of Memphis.
Should someone be able to stand in the marketplace or in the town square at the University of Tennessee, University of Memphis, Murfreesboro, Cookeville, Austin Peay, and recruit for ISIS?
Yes. So long as it doesn't disrupt the proceedings on that campus. Yes, sir.
Get him out of here. Get him out. Get him out.
Protests in Midtown, both inside and outside the Midland, as presidential candidate Donald Trump comes to town. Now take a look at this video. Police use pepper spray on the crowds this evening as they try to get control of this situation. We saw multiple scuffles, and police say they...
Distress from the outside crowd coming to a head when police unleashed pepper spray to disperse the crowd.
It was the best of 5 games, but in the end, a computer program beat a human brain at the ancient Chinese board game of Go. The final score, 4-1, a triumph for artificial intelligence equipped with human intuition.
The victory of a program over a human in the ancient board game Go has sparked intrigue and, in some cases, concern. It shows that a machine has approximated human intuition and outsmarted the best human brain in the game. It's something that scientists hadn't expected to happen for at least another decade. And it's a giant leap for artificial intelligence, showing that machines can learn on their own.
I think maybe the game ended.
No, I don't think so, because it looks like B is still counting.
No, I think he resigned.
Wow, I think you're right. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
This was the moment a computer called AlphaGo beat a master of the ancient Chinese game Go. It's not the first time a grandmaster's been humbled by a machine. But what makes AlphaGo different is that it's the first demonstration that machines can truly learn and think in a human way.
I was defeated entirely. I had barely taken the lead from the very beginning, and I saw no mistakes made by the computer. Yesterday I could still say that the computer played Go in a strange manner, but the computer defeated me perfectly today.
AlphaGo's victory shocked experts in the artificial intelligence community. Many thought such an event was at least a decade away. With computing power growing exponentially, a future of artificially intelligent machines that learn from their mistakes now looks closer than ever. This poses fundamental questions about the nature of intelligence and even what it means.
While EU countries are buckling under the continuing pressure of hundreds of thousands of refugee arrivals, leaders are scrambling to find ways to manage the crisis. Last year, the European Commission ordered Italy to use force if necessary to make refugees and migrants have their fingerprints taken.
One thing the EU is following through on, ensuring that migrants are fingerprinted and registered at the hotspots. These young men from Darfur and Sudan have asked not to be identified. They've been in Lampedusa for 3 months. They're among the few who protested who haven't yet been taken to mainland Sicily and fingerprinted. They say police are using force to get fingerprints, and that a few of them are being denied medical treatment.
A 4-month manhunt ended today in a hail of gunfire.
By late afternoon, heavily armed police moved in on the apartment in Molenbeek, not sure who was there. Only to find they've captured Salah Abdeslam, one of the 10 Paris attackers and the only one to have escaped alive. This is believed to be Abdeslam the moment he was caught, his leg injured in the raid. Despite an international manhunt, Abdeslam evaded authorities until today.
Russian forces have started to withdraw from Syria. Military jets took off this morning from their base in Syria. And breaking overnight, another provocation by North Korea. It's launched a medium-range missile into the sea. The test firing violates multiple United Nations resolutions.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has officially declared that the Islamic State militant group is committing genocide against Christians and other religious minorities across the Middle East.
Facing persecution, murder, and torture each day, Christians overseas are persecuted for their religious beliefs. These individuals are being slaughtered, raped, and sold into slavery and forced to watch as their churches are burned down. This morning, the State Department labeled these atrocities as genocide. This is mass genocide by ISIS and other radical jihadist groups that is taking place throughout the world.
As the world conditions continue to worsen, we are heading toward the promise of a peace by a world dictator who will come and say, I will provide peace for you. We know him as the Antichrist. And the Bible says he will use peace to manipulate the world. Today, men and women in this world are looking for a leader. They're looking for someone who can make the pain go away, who can put the money back in their portfolios, who can give them a sense that maybe their children will be all right in the next generation. And as many of you know, they care not about the nature or the heart of the leader as long as he can deliver on his promise. The Bible tells us in Daniel 7 and Revelation 13 that such a leader is coming. He will come upon this world with great charisma. He will be physically attractive, an outstanding orator, a man of great cruelty, and a spiritual bent as a cultic leader, and he will take control of the world, and they will be eating out of his hands. And we know this world leader as the Antichrist. The New World Order is all about the consolidation of power. That's what it's all about. It's about bringing everybody together so that one person can control everything. That only works if the one person is Jesus Christ. You can trust him. He never fails. He never outpromises. He never does not do what he says he will do. He has never before in history sinned. He is the perfect ruler for a new world order. And while we are watching what happens in our culture today, we need to be very vigilant as the people of God. The people of this nation have taken seriously the importance of building a strong nation with integrity.
DIA's iconic dark horse, unofficially known as Lucifer, will get a shade darker tomorrow night. In observance of Earth Hour, the airport will cut the lights at some of its landmarks. Now first, from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m., DIA will turn off its LED sign along Pena Boulevard. At 8:30, Lucifer will go dark for 1 hour. The airport also encourages employees to turn off non-essential lighting. Earth Hour was created as a way to raise awareness about energy conservation.
Tonight we hear from inventor and futurist Ray Kurzweil about immortality and the exponential growth of technology.
We're going to get to a point 10, 15 years from now where we're adding more time than is going by to our remaining life expectancy. People sometimes say that death gives meaning to life because it makes time short, but actually death is a great robber of meaning, of relationships, of knowledge. We're going to be able to overcome disease and aging. Most of our thinking will be non-biological. That'll be backed up. So if part of it gets wiped away, you can recreate it, and we'll be able to extend our lives indefinitely. I'd rather use that word than forever.
All right, well, we may not be able to teleport just yet, but apparently we can holoport.
Holoport, okay.
Holoport.
Digital reporter Alexander Bahu is here to explain what this new technology is and what's involved in virtual travel.
Hello.
That's right, hello. Microsoft is working on what they're calling holoportation. So it's like teleportation, but you physically aren't going anywhere, just your virtual self. Holoportation uses a type of 3D capture technology to transmit a model of you to anywhere around the world in real time.
Well, some say corporations know more about each of us than the government ever will. And when it comes to new technologies like biometrics, one expert says that technology is advancing faster than our ability to contain it.
Would you swallow this pill so you didn't have to remember another password or wear an electronic tattoo identifying you to get better deals? It's not sci-fi. These are real, and it's just the beginning of a tech revolution.
All kinds of things that we don't even think about, where we shop in the store, what things we pick up,
are starting to be recorded and analyzed. Tom Keenan of the Canadian Global Affairs Institute says biometric ID is advancing faster than our ability to contain it, and he calls it creepy. There's no way society can keep ahead of this. We've seen retinal scans in airports. Now even some U.S. schools use them to speed up cafeteria lines. Cars use them instead of keys. Banks are lining up to implement the technology at ATMs. It makes it easier for us, but also easier for the people who watch us. So somebody with enough data processing power, which is dirt cheap now, can go out there and follow everything that you do. Police use facial recognition software to scan huge banks of images, and they're testing ways to identify us just by the way we walk. Keenan says that technology will come to the store down the street. So next time you go into the Walmart, maybe it knows as you walk in there who you are, that you're pre-diabetic, etc., and suddenly you start being manipulated. The company Nimi's wristbands use our heartbeat to identify us for finances, for passwords, for booking travel. Keenan worries we'll simply accept new technologies because it's easy without thinking hard about how others might use it.
Controversy tonight over Robert De Niro's decision to pull a documentary from the Tribeca Film Festival. The documentary, titled Vaxxed, was slated to screen at the festival. The film was co-directed and written by Andrew Wakefield, who was stripped of his medical license after his studies linking autism to childhood vaccines were discredited.
And the filmmakers say they have a First Amendment right for their views to be heard.
Everything I've been telling my patients for the last 10 years has been based on a lie.
Vaxxed has been axed from New York's Tribeca Film Festival. This trailer posted online is all that audiences can see of the documentary Vaxxed, From Cover-Up to Catastrophe.
Who is stopping that story? Is it a corporate interest? I don't know. Why does Tribeca suddenly not want to tell this story? Why does, I have nothing but respect for Robert De Niro and Tribeca. I can't imagine what type of pressure came down that would make them pull a movie that they were obviously behind in the beginning.
The director and producers say they were not given an opportunity to appeal Tribeca's decision. They say it's an example of, quote, the power of corporate interests censoring free speech, art, and truth.
You probably didn't learn in school, but your kids probably will or already are. Same-sex marriage being part of a lesson plan for students across Colorado, part of an anti-bias curriculum, even for preschoolers.
Jeremy, from the preschool level with same-sex couples featured in picture books all the way up to the high school level, curriculums are changing and teachers are not afraid to talk about it.
Homeless man in Fort Wayne is suing the city for what he says is a violation of homeless people's rights.
He says the city is taking and destroying their property during sweeps of homeless camps.
A spokesperson for the city of Fort Wayne says they've done 20 cleanups of homeless camps since 2011. Keith C. is calling those sweeps unconstitutional and discriminatory. He says their homeless camp sweeps are unconstitutional. They're taking their tents, coats, blankets, and other property. They're then destroying or throwing the stuff away with no chance to get it back. C says his grandfather's jacket was taken in a sweep last year.
They're wrong. They're taking our personal property, saying it's junk. To them it may be, but to us it's our life.
Sally Segerson has been working the streets for about 4 years as founder of Street Reach for the Homeless. She says one man she knows lost an irreplaceable Bible in a sweep.
Facial recognition technology in the fight against terrorism. This week, ISIS claimed responsibility for a series of deadly bombings in Belgium that killed 34 people, including 3 suicide bombers. The attack spawned another manhunt and more questions about prevention only 4 months after the terrorist incidents in Paris. Facial recognition technology might help prevent such attacks, but it's a work in progress.
So there's been a real push to try and incorporate more and more of this what's called biometric data into a record so that it can be useful for law enforcement. That's what we're seeing here. We, as soon as these events happened, we had a very clear picture of who law enforcement thought was in charge, who they thought was responsible for this terrible event. You had, that scene, that picture that's now being blasted on televisions all around the world. But it's strange. When I talked to DHS about this, they pointed out that, hey, You might feel a little bit strange standing in line at a border crossing and surrendering your biometric data to the government. That's you don't have to be somebody with ill designs to feel weird about that, but we give away biometric.
At one point, some of them disappeared and started shooting what sounded like large, like long gun type firearms.
Caution or overreaction? San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies questioned more than a dozen men firing guns in the desert. Welcome back. I'm Jeff Vaughn.
And I'm Pat Harvey. Now, the FBI is now looking further into this incident, even though deputies say no crime was committed.
While the Sheriff's Department has said the men didn't do anything wrong, the story is still gaining traction online, in part because of the sheriff's radio traffic that describes the men and seemingly suspicious circumstances.
There was a large group of Middle Eastern males in their 20s. They grabbed their things and started hiking away from the springs there. They were up all night chanting all Akbar type stuff. At one point, some of them disappeared and started shooting what sounded like large, like long gun.
I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's just insane that there would be that kind of tension in Southern California for that issue to happen.
While the Sheriff's Department says everything checked out, the FBI is now taking a look because this all happened on federal land. San Bernardino County sheriffs say that no one was arrested and no crime was committed, all but one of the guns was registered. Reporting now.
Good evening. The Education Department is being forced to send in security guards to deal with growing violence in our schools. It's happening more and more as schools try to protect teachers and students.
Throwing punches, pulling hair and ripping clothing. Two young girls in a schoolyard brawl. This is a sign of the times in WA schools. It's become so bad at Kalgoorlie Boulder Community High School that the Education Department's been forced to send in security guards.
I wasn't talking.
Last week, a teacher was attacked by a student at the school. It was the last straw. Kalgoorlie Boulder is also getting new hard-to-climb fencing to keep trouble out.
Some Delta parents are in an uproar after atheist and satanic literature is to be distributed in high school and middle schools in their area.
They're getting exposed not only to a big lesson about federal laws and our Constitution, but also about differing points of view, which of course exist throughout the country and in the world.
SEPTA says it's located a group of young children seen on cell phone video attacking riders on the L train last week.
The language is so offensive, we can't broadcast it. The alleged aggressors so young, we can't show you their faces.
When you watch that video as a parent and as a human being, you're alarmed for the well-being of those children.
The video is from an incident the evening of March 24th. It shows who police say are 4 boys, likely just 6 to 7 years old, cursing, hitting, and at one point even spitting at a passenger.
That was young people, that's okay.
The alleged victim, Patrick Coyle, posted the video on Facebook and wrote he started recording after the kids apparently slapped another woman. Tuesday, we showed it to some passengers on the Market L line.
I was taken back, and actually we live in Baltimore, and certainly we have our share of criminal stuff, but I have never seen anything like that with children of that age.
The U.S. Capitol Visitors Center was crowded with spring tourists, many of them children, when a man pulled a handgun this afternoon.
And with all this happening, security has been ramped up here in Massachusetts.
State police are putting on extra patrols at the State House this evening.
A wave of panic in Washington.
Cell phone video captures the frantic moments after gunfire rang out inside the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center Monday afternoon.
Officers just coming out from every direction with guns drawn.
Get out, there's a shooter. So we ran out of the building.
Sources tell CBS News the suspect is 66-year-old Larry Dawson from Tennessee. A man with the same name had been ordered to stay away from Capitol grounds after he disrupted the House chamber last fall.
Now, it is worth noting that a man named Larry Dawson was arrested in Washington, D.C. last year. I have a video clip to show you here now from the U.S. House chamber last year. Listen very closely here. That's Dawson you hear shouting. It goes very quickly. It's not easy to hear, but Dawson was arrested for interrupting that meeting of Congress in 2015. He can be heard shouting, "I am a prophet of God." Now, remember that point. Here's more that we've uncovered about the local Middle Tennessee link. This out of Williamson County. I actually did a story back in 2003 on a man named Larry Dawson. Now, take a look. We have some video from the courtroom here, and there he is before a criminal court judge. Dawson was a former Williamson County school bus driver. We reported that he was arrested for harassing a teenage girl, and get this, we reported that Dawson claimed to be a prophet of God. Certainly, we have now heard that before.
It was a troubling end to a man's trip to Hawaii. Federal officials say he created a big disturbance on a flight.
Yeah, Joe, this one's a little bizarre. It all started with a man and his desire to do yoga, something we usually consider to be soothing, calming. But for one Korean national who chose to do yoga on the plane, turned out to be anything but calming. The man was vacationing here in Hawaii with his wife. Officials say the couple on their return flight from Honolulu to Japan this past Saturday, when the man started yelling at crew members and then shoving and pushing his wife. They said the man didn't want to sit in his seat during the meal service, so he headed to the rear of the plane to do yoga and to meditate. But according to court documents, the man then tried to headbutt and bite some Marines. They happened to be passengers on the plane, and they were summoned in to try to help the man back to his seat. Well, in the end, it got so out of hand, the pilot turned the plane around and returned to Honolulu. The man was charged with interfering with a flight crew, and now he's spending a few extra days in Hawaii at the Federal Detention Center. Now, the man explained his behavior to the FBI. He said he was sleep deprived and claimed he didn't know he was supposed to listen to the flight crew's instructions.
At 6 o'clock, we are learning about a possible motive for the man accused of throwing acid on his girlfriend.
Gregory Marsman was charged in court today with several felonies, and he faces up to life in prison.
Today, the victim's family says over the past 2 years, they've noticed him acting strange. 24-hour News 8's Heather Walker got a look inside the home where Marsman left notes referencing the devil.
The house was torn apart. There were acid burns throughout the house in every room.
I denounce God, have accepted Satan.
That was one of the notes that were left behind by Marsman. There were more in his bedroom and a message on the fridge.
So it looks like,
Today, the victim's son, Keith Nemeth, began cleaning up the mess. He says his mom, Cheryl Keach, had Marsman living with her for the past 10 years.
I've noticed probably the past couple of years, he's been a little bit more random.
We begin tonight with the terrifying scene that played out late today for commuters at a Greyhound bus station in Richmond, Virginia. A chaotic and deadly scene, an active shooter at the station shortly before 3 p.m. Tonight, we've learned officers with the Virginia State Police were reportedly there for some sort of exercise.
Tonight, the gunman is dead, and at least 2 other people are being treated for injuries after a bizarre and tragic turn of events.
As the SWAT team stood down, Virginia police officials would not be specific about what kind of exercise the officers were conducting this afternoon at that bus station before the shooting.
Wow. Well, in June, a temple of Baal is going to be recreated in Times Square, New York. Is that something to be concerned about? I mean, it concerns me.
I think it's something that we have to be extraordinarily concerned about. And again, this is a reconstruction of a temple from Palmyra in Syria that ISIS recently destroyed. And we have to stop for a moment and ask the question, why in the world would we honor such a gruesome practice?
That's true. So what is behind this? What's the reasoning behind constructing that temple in Times Square?
I think there are 2 things going on. I think there might be a larger sinister plan, but I think maybe perhaps this is a materialist reading of the world where people simply say this is culture, there's nothing sinister behind it, there is no God and there are no evil forces. But I think as Christians we have to stop for a moment and recognize once again what it is indeed that we are celebrating, that we say is important.
Well, this story is getting a lot of attention right now on our 12 News Facebook page. It's a photo taken on Easter. Take a good look at it. It's of the large fountain in Fountain Hills, and it apparently, look at that, it's in the shape of Jesus Christ. Well, a man by the name of Gary Johnson snapped the image on Sunday, and it's being shared all over social media tonight.
It's not the first time an image similar to this has been captured and shared thousands of times.
And is there anything you hope viewers to get from the series?
So we're making this series, and we hope people will go and see it and enjoy it by getting something out of it, something tangibly good out of it. What could that possibly be? It could possibly be that there is a broader realization of the sameness of our faiths and our beliefs and our lives, more sameness than there is difference.
But for her latest project, Believe, she's exploring how we are all connected by our ongoing search for something greater than ourselves.
And why do even non-believers find a prayer on their lips from time to time? I want to understand this instinct, which unites us all.
And somewhere in the spiritual base, we all align, because all of the religions have this in common: compassion, kindness, and love. And you see that. You know, I think the whole point of this series is to show that there's a big, wide, open space that is the space of all of our hearts if we're willing to let ourselves go there.
Historic sites in the Syrian city of Palmyra suffered greatly at the hands of ISIL. Since its recapture last month, people have been considering how to restore the UNESCO World Heritage Site. CCTV's Dan Whitehead reports from northern Italy, where artisans are working on a recreation of the triumphal arch from the Temple of Bel.
And we have to stop for a moment and ask the question, why in the world would we honor such a gruesome practice?
Nestled in Italy's Carrara Mountains, historic ruins are coming back to life. 3D printers carve into Egyptian stone to recreate the 2,000-year-old triumphal arch, nearly destroyed by Islamic State in the Syrian city of Palmyra. Thousands of images of the ruins have been used to create 3D mapping. Later this month, the arch will go on display in London's Trafalgar Square and New York's Times Square. The aim then is for it to travel to Syria itself.
So there's an amazing event going on this weekend here in D.C., praying for the healing of our nation. And the event takes place at the Lincoln Memorial on April 9th.
People in the nation's capital were treated Monday evening to the rare sight as the sky opened up.
A mystery is unfolding in Shasta County. Hundreds of birds are found dead along Interstate 5. A wildlife biologist says this is highly unusual.
It's very odd.
Jim Wigan is perplexed.
I've studied wildlife my whole life. Never seen this. Never seen this.
The wildlife biologist is trying to unlock a mystery. That mystery lies in the form of dozens of dead birds, all gathered within a 200-yard radius in the northbound lanes of I-5, on the side of the road and in the grass just south of the Mountain Gate exit in Shasta County.
The majority of them are right in this area.
Only one or two across the center divide.
On the other side of the road, there's almost nothing. That's another unusual thing.
Wigan drives this stretch of road all the time. A graduate of UC Berkeley, he's written numerous stories about birds.
I don't see any signs of trauma, disease. They're all in one tight location.
As he picks up carcasses he plans to have examined, he wonders what could have done this.
They were all hit by a semi and a big group was crossing the roads. These guys look in perfect condition. Where's the busted up, smashed bodies? Where are the cripples around over here? Birds with broken wings can travel for miles.
Many articles have been written about the phenomenon, just like this one, all over the country. Starlings are considered a pest. They have been poisoned in the past. Wigan doesn't believe that's what happened here.
These guys would be scattered all over the place. They all wouldn't all be right here. If these guys were shot with a gun, you know, they would be going in all different directions.
Nor does he believe they were sick.
If it was an avian disease, why would all the bodies be in one place? When birds are sick, it takes them a long time to die. This is a sudden event.
Whatever happened is a mystery.
Bruce Springsteen and his East Street Band have canceled their concert scheduled for tomorrow in Greensboro, North Carolina, to protest the state's new law blocking anti-discrimination measures for gay, lesbian, and transgender people. Springsteen said the law overturns progress in recognizing the human rights of all people.
The boss bowing out. Just days before a big concert in North Carolina, Bruce Springsteen's surprise move is a protest against the state's so-called bathroom law.
Yeah, critics say this law discriminates against gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered people. And Springsteen is not the only big name speaking out.
And that means thousands of Carolina fans won't get to see the 66-year-old legend.
Wanna change my clothes, my hair, my face. The boss taking a stand against a controversial new law in North Carolina, canceling his show in Greensboro only 48 hours before taking the stage. The bill, HB2, or the bathroom law, has come under heavy fire from critics in recent days. In it, individuals are required to use bathrooms that correspond to the gender on their birth certificate. The boss joins the ranks of companies like Apple, Google, Yahoo, and PayPal that have pushed back against the new legislation calling for its repeal. Even Charles Barkley voicing his distaste of this new law.
I think the NBA should move the All-Star game from there next year.
And other celebrities praising the boss for canceling his show. Melissa McCarthy tweeting, "One more incredible reason to love Bruce Springsteen. Your integrity is inspiring."
That's not going to hurt enough. You need to hurt them economically. It's the only thing they understand. Okay? You got to hurt people economically to have them do the right thing morally. You know, that's the essence of a boycott. And it's a shame when it comes to that. But this sort of thing is spreading like an evil virus around the country. And we felt we better stop this. We're going to try and stop this right now. You know, early, and hopefully, you know, other people will rise up and join us. And we're joining other people who have already begun this boycott. And, you know, hopefully other states will either reverse the legislation. I believe Mississippi already has it also. And Georgia just stopped it because of the threat of the boycott. That's the power of the people to do the right thing. And it's just these complete extremists, you know, these religious extremists who are starting to really cross that line between separation of church and state. That's one of our most honored and important traditions in this country. That's what makes us America. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's anti-American, all right, to start being discriminating against people.
And I know you always have my back, and it's been just wonderful to work with you. I know when we finished season 2, I mean, I was literally crying because I just couldn't stand going through life without all you girls around.
You should always love yourself for who you are, the skin that you're in, whether you identify with it and are afraid to tell people, just go for it.
Tonight, I'm here to honor someone who, through her words and through her actions, proves that she is a force of nature. She tells the world that no one can judge us and no one can stop us. She is a woman of many talents. She is my friend, Ruby Rose.
On 11 at 11, spreading the good word on the job, has an Indiana State trooper out of work tonight.
That's right. ISP has fired Senior Trooper Brian Hamilton.
If somebody pulled me over and asked me about anything, you know, I don't believe I'd want to sue them over something like that.
Former ISP Trooper Brian Hamilton is a popular man in Connorsville, where he's often found preaching out in public.
Everybody has the right to talk to people. He did not try to force himself on anyone. He asked a question.
A question that ultimately got him fired. State police announced Hamilton's termination on Thursday in the wake of a second complaint. He was offering prayer while in state police uniform.
You get one officer that is trying to do something good and stand out and everything like that, and then he loses his job.
Today I spoke with more than a half dozen people in Connorsville who say losing your job is too big a price to pay for spreading a little prayer.
I wish other officers would do that. Maybe it might touch my kid's heart that they'll get in church and give their heart to God.
But is that the role of a police officer or a state police trooper to preach?
Role of anybody.
Spending cash may be going out of style.
tonight, it'll make you ask, am I being watched? And we guarantee you'll be checking out your own neighborhood after you get the full story on this one.
But a man who lives in the house behind us says that he thinks there was a different kind of surveillance going on with some sort of mystery box attached to that power pole. SRP tells us that it looks like the box was from law enforcement, but they wouldn't elaborate. Brian says Phoenix PD told him that it wasn't from them.
Parents who try to walk their children out of school face possibility of criminal charges. If you think I'm exaggerating, I am not.
She's starting to arrest people.
Wendy Jarman is a private school teacher who just pulled her kids out of public school, Bear Branch Elementary in Magnolia ISD. She lives in the neighborhood behind the school. Her kids were walkers and she used to escort them, but they can't do that anymore. The school's principal, Holly Ray, won't allow it. Ray has gotten Montgomery County constables to be her enforcers.
This has happened to many parents. They have been cited. They have been threatened if they step 1 foot on school property that they will be arrested and charged with who knows what.
In the past 10 minutes, the first Syrian refugees to settle in the United States arrived in Kansas City.
Well, the controversial new plan includes bringing 10,000 Syrians escaping civil war to America. But critics say this puts our national security at risk.
We need to be clear about the origin of the war on terror.
Belgian police have raided the infamous Molenbeek district in Brussels, known as a hotbed of Islamic extremism.
Holland vehicles went to the Brussels Jewish Museum shooting, the summer's attack on a French train, the Charlie Hebdo shootings, and recent terror in Paris.
Why is this such a hotbed for recruitment? A hotbed for radicalism and jihadism and extremism?
The war on terror is, I quote, orchestrated from abroad. These are the words François Hollande used to describe this terrorist attack. Well, the attacks that have been continuing to destroy Syria, to massacre its population, have also been orchestrated from abroad. And people in Europe need to understand that there is a war that is becoming global, that is being waged against civilian populations in particular. It is a form of neo-imperialism and neo-colonialism which aims to divide and conquer European and Middle Eastern and African and the world's population for that matter, and to make them submit to a global order that does not serve the interests of most of the people on this planet, but that does serve the interests of a very few ruling elite, a very small, tiny, and particularly tyrannical ruling elite. There is no war on terror.